your mate. You're not looking for somebody at that time. At least a lot of people don't. There is some. But, all of a sudden you find somebody. It's the same thing, I mean, with UFOs or what have you. But I will tell you this. Back in the late 1990s, I got a hold of some Russian infrared binoculars.
Oh, so cool. I've always wanted a pair of those.
It was what I was cool is we went out outside at night, and I started looking at the sky with it. And boy, you saw things that you couldn't explain.
Oh, really?
I mean,
interesting.
First you think, and the reason why I got it, I used to manage a chain of camera stores, so we'd get weird stuff like that in. The Russian stuff, the military stuff, was really popular back then. But I remember me and my friend, we had them, and we were out where it was totally dark, and we were looking at. First, we started thinking, "Oh, okay, this is satellites," but then they would change direction. They would go up, down, this way, that way.
Right.
And you're sitting there, and with a normal pair of binoculars, you wouldn't even see them. But with the infrared, it filters out whatever it filters out, and you got to see some. And you can, if anybody has a pair, go out there at night, stare at the skies, put them on a tripod if you can, and just stare at the sky, and you will see things that you'll wonder about when you go back in the house.
I am so going to look for some online. And the price must have dropped at this point. Is it the same technology that we were using back then? Were you seeing it in green? Was everything in green through the lenses?
Yeah. Back then, we were talking probably used military surplus Russian.
Yeah.
It was like maybe $1,200-$1,300. Nowadays, you probably pick up something in a couple $100 range.
Yeah, I need to invest in some of those because that sounds fascinating. So did it look like stuff was in the sky, like almost like on a grid, where it was like staccato? It was like moving different, like. Well,
I'd be looking like I was looking at one. I remember it to this day. I thought it was a satellite, and I was following it,
Yeah.
But all of a sudden it just kind of zoomed this way, and then it zoomed up, and then it zoomed over that way, and then it came back a different direction. And a satellite doesn't do that. They stay on a constant. I was at one point at my age. When I ran the business, we used to sell a lot of telescopes, so I had to be a little bit knowledgeable.
Oh yeah.
To move telescopes and order them, and be able to talk to people. And this thing, when you look at a satellite, they go. You just set it up and you set your drive for the telescope and you just follow it. They don't go up. They don't zigzag. They don't go down. And then, it's strange. And it wasn't just one time I seen it. It was like every time I go out late at night, you spend a half an hour to an hour, and all of a sudden you would see something that you go, wow, is that our technology or something out there that, it's just weird.
That is interesting. That reminds me of like swimming in the ocean. Like, it's so nice to swim in the ocean when you don't have goggles or a mask, because as soon as you go under the water, you see things that you had no idea were even in there. And you won't go swimming in it after again, like you were in the past, like just because you've changed up the apparatus that you're staring at the world in, which is really it's so cool. I'm going to go online after this conversation and look for some. So I would love to check that out.
Yeah, it'd be it'd be fun to do. I mean, I did that for a long period of time. In fact, we had a little group with our store chain it was as soon as I told one person, right, it just started getting out, and then all of a sudden there was a whole bunch of people buying them. Like, in fact, we even had at one point a hard time getting them because people were buying them, and they were all coming back and saying, hey, look at this, Gary, look at this, Gary, look at this time of night, and this is where, and it was like, it wasn't just me that saw it. It was a lot of people. Then if you Google infrared binoculars for stargazing, you're going to find some things, just what I'm just telling you about right now.
That is so cool. And now, were they goggles or were they actually binoculars that you hold up to your eyes?
These ones were actually a binocular type. Now, they did make the one weird one that you like the helicopter pilots used to have back in the
Right,
early
yeah.
90s. We sold those too with one thing, with one element in it. No, this was actually two elements in it.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking them up right now. For $159, I can get true night vision binoculars.
Oh, yeah.
This is so cool.
And if you want something more interesting, you get a pair of them. Two things you can do: go to the desert and stop your car, get a chair, and stare out the desert for a few minutes. You'll see all these eyes staring at you. Or you go into the woods at night, which I wouldn't recommend unless you want to run into Bigfoot. And go and look, and you'll see all these eyes staring at you. Or go camping in a campground. Besides
Not
other people,
happen, Gary.
besides this other normal people walking around, right, or somebody peeing in the bushes, you're going to see some strange eyes there too of little creatures that you didn't even know were there.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. I'm getting into this because I am in the desert. I live in the desert outside of Phoenix.
Then you are the perfect place to stargaze and look and you'll see what I'm talking about. If you never seen a UFO before, get a pair. Talk to me in a month from now, and I bet you your whole story is going to be changed. You're going to be saying, "Hey, Gary, you don't know how many UFOs I've seen."
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm sold. For $150, it's worth it if I can experience anything like that. So, all you listeners out there right now, infrared glasses or binoculars, that's where it's at right now. That's our homework or takeaway from this episode.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If you're still Googling, just kind of Google infrared and binoculars and UFO stargazing, and you'll be surprised what you'll come up with there.
Yeah. No. Let's see.
So I'm saying, if people out there don't think UFO, I guess, they can sit there and say the world's flat, and a lot of people are going to believe it. If we think that we're the only ones in this whole whatever out there, right? We're the only living life with an intelligence, then you know what? It's like the same people who thought Columbus was going to fall off the earth. I mean, there is life. There is life out there. It's just too many things like cows, being, dissected in such a way, picked up, dropped back down where they were, with precision, that no medical team in this world could duplicate what has been done to these animals. And that's been going on for 20 years. And it seems like that's a cover up. I mean, the internet is good because you get a lot of crackpots, you get a lot of misleading stuff, but then there is a little bit of truth out there too.
Yeah. Cattle mutilations have always freaked me out. I've always felt there's something going on there. I mean, why else would that be done? I mean, what's going on there? I mean, unless the government's doing it. I mean, I just don't understand it. I mean, I don't understand what's going on there. I don't think a lot of people do. So
I don't think our government even has the technology because, I mean, from what I've read, that the technology to remove the organs, the way it was done, so nothing that we have could do it. I mean, not even a trace of any blood left or anything. It just makes you, And then I was reading on some of the cases where actually they feel like the poor animal got lifted up and whatever, and then dropped back down after it was done.
Yeah. No, I mean, as we were talking about earlier, the technology that we see and know of is old technology. What they're using now, what they've been using, who knows how advanced the dark state or the cabal really is when it comes to that kind of stuff. Well, but it is freaky.
Look at this. Okay, Hitler, his scientists, developed the jet engine. Okay, they did that. Basically, even at the start of the war, they were working on it. The rockets, nuclear, all that stuff. But then, isn't it kind of strange? All of a sudden, we are advancing so fast, right? but why do we still need rockets yet? I mean, how many years? How can we go from basically a piston engine to a jet engine to, and turbine engines and all this stuff, right? And then, basically, well, we still have to, ignite with, electricity. Like you go build a little model rocket and, light it up and fire it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still strange.
Firecracker. It's old school tech. I mean, that goes back to China, thousands of years ago. The rocket, the propulsion systems like that. You got to wonder. We've only been back. When are we going to go back to the moon? Why do we put that on the back burner?
Well,
the fact no McDonald's on the moon right now really freaks me out. Like, what's going on?
Well, again, you have one or two astronauts that actually, said in their later years that there was things on the backside of the moon that
right.
That they
all
don't.
Of them, I think all of them, even Buzz Aldrin was said that they saw stuff.
Yeah, they don't want us to know about it. Maybe maybe when we went to the moon, we were basically told nicely, if you return, you won't have a planet to go back to.
Yeah. Or the moon is actually not really a moon, but some type of satellite. It's very curious, but it's not like us. Like when we go somewhere, like mankind, we take it over. We're building McDonald's all of a sudden. And that's the first time you don't see that. So it makes me wonder, like, what is going on up there?
Yeah, it just then they talk about going to Mars, right? And that's more important and actually going back. And why won't they let us know what's on the backside of the moon? I mean, if there's nothing there, then they should say, "Hey, here's proof there's nothing there." They won't do it.
They always do that.
And then we got our space station, right? What basically, what good is the space station right now? I mean, the technology on that is so obsolete as it is. It just makes me wonder what is going on. And then they're starting, a little bit more about Mars all the time. They're discovering a little bit more. And, it's, I think one day, not in my lifetime, probably not in your lifetime, I think everything that we've been conditioned to believe and educated on, I think it'll be absolutely worthless.
Yeah. It's true. And that's typically how it is.
I don't know.
But Mars is very it's very interesting. I'm really curious to see what goes on with that, with Mission to Mars. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think we're just looking for another place that we can populate, because who knows what's going on with the planet we currently live on.
Or maybe they know something they don't want us to know. But
that's true.
But, then you look at all these little things like, look at this on Mars, right? There was one that was circulating on all the media back here about a month ago, a picture of an alien on Mars, supposedly taken. I mean, you get all this stuff, and it's there to debunk, Now there's one about they found something, part of a swimming pool on Mars. I mean, it's always,
really?
And then they supposedly a couple months ago, it was part of a building they found on Mars. I mean, and then, I look at the pictures, right? And I no matter how hard I magnify, look at them, I don't see that alien. I don't see that, to me, it looks like rocks that, that kind of resemble something, but I guess, people want it to be something so bad they look at it and they make it what they want it to be, I guess.
Pareidolia is what that's called, and that's just how humans are wired. Like, we're meant to see stuff that's familiar and faces and things that really aren't there. And that's just how we're wired. We automatically do that. And then it doesn't help that you can convince yourself, if you really want to see something, you will probably see that too. So, it's just, again, that's just the way we think. We're so much more sophisticated as a species than what we actually are. We have old school. Talk about old tech. We need an upgrade.
Well, I hate to say it, people 500 years from now, we're going to be saying the same thing what we said about people 500 years ago. I mean, we
Yeah,
think
exactly.
we think that we are so advanced, but we're not. We're not. And I don't know.